evening, everyone. Welcome to Rotor Talk Live, Season 7, Episode 39, DJI Mavic 4 coming in 2024. Hope everyone is doing well tonight. Ron may not be joining us tonight. Tom Dowling, he asked, and I sent him a link, so he may be joining us here in a little bit, along with Marcus as well. Hope everyone is doing well. We are getting ready for Helen. I think that's how you pronounce it, okay? And what I thought I'd like to do, well, first of all, my gosh, you guys were jumping in the chat already tonight. Wow. Just press the daylights out of me. Let's see who we got here. Joe Merica, Jay Bird, John Olson, Alvin Prather. Welcome, Alvin. John Olson. Tom's here. Art's here. Fly Guy Merrill. Richard is here. See who else we got. Waypoint New England. TJ Giggles FPV, Drone Fuse Media, Dr. Ted is here. Full house, absolutely, positively full house. I think Michael Wright. Yeah, Michael Wright's here. All right. Got a full house. Well, you know, when you live in Florida from June through November, you have to always look at the weather, okay? It's one thing that was drilled into me after moving down here because, you know, this whole state, it's just, you know, it's prone for hurricanes because, you know, we have oceans on the right, oceans on the left, oceans beneath us. I mean, you know, it's just anywhere you look. So what I thought I'd like to do would be to kind of give you an update on where things are, the latest here as far as what we call, well, let me just jump into it here, okay? Now, you know, one of the things I have to say is this, is you learn very quickly down here that meteorologists down here are a different breed. They're really, really, really a lot. They're more accurate than meteorologists up north. I will tell you that, okay? Now, this is what they call this the cone of uncertainty with good reason, because you don't really know. I mean, you know, a shift here and a shift there, we could get really pummeled or get nothing at all. Now, the brunt of the storm is going to hit us probably about 2 o'clock Thursday afternoon. And they're estimating it's going to be a Category 3 at that point in time. And you can see right here where we are in Tampa, it's gonna just barely kind of miss us here. Now, what this is, and this is where a lot of people, you know, this is where a lot of people get hurt and a lot of people get killed. It's not from the wind, it's from, you know, in the rain, it's from the flooding, okay, or tornadoes. It's from the flooding here. And you take a look here, okay. Now this is the forecasted storm surge. And it's supposed to hit in what they call the armpit of Florida here. And you can see 5 to 10 feet right here where the purple is, 10 to 15 feet, okay? Which, I mean, it's above and beyond. I mean, that's 15 feet here. Tom, welcome. Good to have you on board tonight.
Good to be here, Bill. Thanks for the invite.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for stopping by tonight. 6 to 10 feet, and then right around us, probably 5 to 8 feet. And that's still, and see what they do is in here, you can take a look at this. We have a lot of the bay, and then we have quite an extensive river system here in the Tampa area. And we still haven't recovered from the torrential rains that we had in August and July. I mean, this is just, it's going to be a mess here. Now there's watches and warnings all across the state right here. And you can tell the red is where the brunt of the hurricane is going to hit. The blue is where we are right here. And the yellow is on the East Coast here. So this is really more, and you can tell there's that right here. Now, hurricane warning is up from the Anecdote River to Mexico Beach. Tropical storm warning. A hurricane watch is up from Tampa Bay south. Helene continues to organize in the Caribbean. excuse me, will enter the Gulf as a Cat 1 hurricane tomorrow. The storm will likely pass west of us Thursday as intensifying hurricane. Helene will be a very large storm with lots of its weather on the east side. We will be on the east side in that weather on Thursday. I'm thinking Debbie, with more wind along the coast and a little less rain due to the forward speed of the storm and a more significant storm surge. A couple of points. It's important we stay out of the core of the hurricane, which is the ring of strongest winds around the center. At this point, I think we will. Do not underestimate water. Water always wins. You can hide from wind. You cannot hide from water. And that's where the real problem is. And I think, Tom, you know that.
Yeah, it's devastating, Bill. It really is devastating, especially since you guys haven't even recovered yet. So that adds the complexity of it. Water will find its way into everything. And now also the other problem you have in that state is the insurance companies.
Mm-hmm.
They leave you high and dry. Unfortunately, you're not going to be too dry with them.
Yeah. And that's one of the things where we live. Technically, it's not in a floodplain.
Right.
So we're not required to get flood insurance, but a lot of people have, because especially right now, because a lot of the tributaries and some of the smaller creeks and streams around us, are going to overflow, and that's going to happen. And the system we're at now, we have a real good drainage system in the ponds. When Debbie hit us, the ponds are kind of tiered, so one goes to another, goes to another, goes to another, goes to another, and it really kind of did its job, and it dumps it off in one of the streams. And it did a good job because the level of those ponds went way down after about 2 hours after the rain stopped. So that really did its job. But the problem was our ground got incredibly saturated. And it can't really retain a lot more moisture. Right. So that's probably the biggest thing right now. And we're actually, my wife and I are exploring looking at getting flood insurance. Because it really, I told her, I said, I'd rather be safe than sorry, if you know what I mean, Tom. I mean,
absolutely. But the problem you have, Bill, is because of the frequency that you guys have had in Florida, these insurance companies can basically charge you an arm and a leg now for flood insurance. So even though you're not in a floodplain, they're still going by a state average, and you can pay a whopping fee for flood insurance. But I agree with you, man. If you don't have it, then you have to rely on FEMA and the federal government to bail you out. Mm-hmm. And that can take a real long time. I remember from Superstorm Sandy up in the New York area, there's still people trying to rebuild up there. And how long ago was that? A decade and a half ago. So it's a tough situation, really is.
It really is. What else I thought I'd like to do would also to check in on some of my personal prep. Now, a lot of and I think, Tom, I think you probably know as well too. I'm a ham radio enthusiast, and let me see, I'm trying to get that screen up. I thought I had it up here. Let me get it back. It disappeared on me here.
Well, that becomes also a critical service in a situation like this, is to have that fabric, that network of ham operators.
Exactly. And I think you probably, being that this was your former profession here, how vital it is, communications. And that was the thing.
Without it, you're nowhere.
Yeah. That was the thing, Tom, that it got impressed upon me when I moved down here. Was, what do you do? Cell phones go down, landlines go down. What do you do? Right. And then somebody said, you need to get into ham radio. And that's totally how I got started in ham radio, because, I thought of it before and it was just, too complex, too complicated, but it's much more simpler than it used to be. And they
right. It's a lot easier to secure your FCC certification these days.
Exactly.
You can do a lot of stuff online. And back in the old days, man, it was you were jumping through hoops, and plus you had to contend with the community. It was much, I would say it's a lot like the AMA and drone flyers. Okay.
Mhm.
That's how it was back in the day. Okay. If you're a novice, you don't get the time of day back in the day. Today, it's really becomes an essential service out there. And we relied, especially at the FEMA side, our incident management team and urban search and rescue teams going all over the country and in the hemisphere, you relied on ham operators to assist. So it is a critical service.
Well, this is some of the prep that I've done here. Is these are lithium iron phosphate batteries. These aren't lithium. These are lithium.
Yeah.
It's important to note the difference here. I'm sorry, I'm going in the wrong direction here. Now, this is to one of my radios. It's in a charging stand. That's to another one of my radios.
Right.
And those are my handhelds right here. And that's a bigger battery here as well. And that's one of the main radio that I have right now. And it puts out at the most about 10 watts. Now, one of the things that I try to tell people, Tom, is during the brunt of the storm, you're kind of in limbo, okay? Because you can't have your antennas going, okay? Because
no.
With these storms, and
you don't want to lose them in the storm. Yeah,
you're going to lose your antennas in the storm. Number one, number two, lightning. Lightning is just, we're considered like the number 2 lightning capital of the world where we're at.
Sure are.
And you got to disconnect your equipment from there. So during the crux of the storm, you just stay off your equipment. You don't even think about doing it. And then also too, our house, we don't have a wooden frame construction. We have metal frame. And that is just, that
wreaks havoc.
Anything, with simple electronics, metal inside here is not very conducive and friendly to getting radio waves out. Okay. That just doesn't happen. So you have to kind of wait until after the storm. And that's one misnomer that I think a lot of people have is, you'll get your batteries and everything charged up. But it's for after the storm. All right. This is one of the things that you have
for recovery,
right after the storm here.
Yeah.
Now I don't have pictures of it, but two of the things that my wife and I did over the past couple of years is one, we have a Generex generator and it's powered by natural gas. So in case our power goes out, that can run up to 96 hours, okay, without uninterrupted. Then the company has to come out and service it, okay? And these things, they're basically like a V6 or a V8 engine in there, okay? Is because I've heard it start up and it sounds just like a car engine, all right? But after 96 hours, it needs maintenance, okay? So the company needs to come out and do it. So you end up in a queue. So the sooner you call, if it's a long and lengthy outage, okay, the sooner you call, the better chance that you'll get to get in line there. Now,
you got to get in the queue.
You get in the queue. Yeah. And what's nice with the system that we have, it's 4G LTE. And what that means is we get notifications on our phones about the status of it, which is great.
Right.
Now, one of the things that I want to caution people is, while it can provide all your power to your most important items, one of the things that they caution you from doing is we have a gas stove. They said you don't really want to cook because this is being powered by your natural gas, okay?
Yeah.
And you don't want to really run any appliances like your gas dryer as well, because, it's going to take that away from your electricity. So
correct, because you only have a certain flow amount that can make it through, and you don't want to have that being branched off. The other thing, Bill, is I recommend to people, first off, you need a go bag. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go up to Homeland Security, look up FEMA, and look at a go bag. You should have a go bag. You should have certain essentials in that go bag in case you do need to evacuate. Look, me, and a bunch of seniors, my life is dependent on certain medications being taken on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I need to have those in my go bag. I need to have certain essentials. Should have a couple of energy bars, a few bottles of water in there. But one of the other things I think, they call it a bug out bag in Tennessee. Good point there, Big Orange. One of the points I'd also like to make is FRS radios, okay? Cheap radios to buy. I mean, I have them because of RVing and we go out in the desert and, stuff like that. But having those radios, and you can get a set of Motorola radios, a pair of them for like 60, 70 bucks, and they'll be actually very good radios. Those are very helpful too, because you know what? Ham operators can pick you up. You can get picked up on those radios by others. Mm-hmm. So if you're stuck, I remember in Katrina, people getting stuck in their attics during Katrina. Okay. And the few that were able to break out and get up on top of their roofs so they could be seen was one thing. But there were elderly people stuck up in their attics for days on end, and nobody knew they were there. So, there's certain things you can be smart. Now, the other thing, Bill, is people with solar on their roof. And especially out here, I got the situation where talking to a few people with solar on their roof, they think they're indestructible. They think if there's a power outage, they're good to go. Well, you're not good to go unless you got a battery wall. Okay? Just solar is not going to do it for you. You need some way to accumulate that power so that you can use it.
Exactly.
And most people don't have a sufficient battery wall to do that. So therefore they think, well, I don't need a generator. If you're in an area that's prone, like you, Bill, having a Generac makes perfect sense. Okay? And that's how you'll maintain a certain quality of life. While others around you are going to lose everything in their refrigerator, okay? Yeah. And actually not be able to occupy the home.
Yeah, so, and we were there with a couple 2 years ago. We had was 36, almost 48 hours we were without power. And not only, our refrigerator, we have a big chest freezer over there too. Everything had to go. I mean, it was like at least $500 plus of food gone. Just gone. You can't you can't do anything about it. And that's why we decided to make the investment. Now, these Generac generators, they aren't cheap. It's about a 10.
No, it's an investment
type of proposition. But it's one of the things down here in Florida. And, there are certain things you do to your home, you're going to get that investment back, and this is one of those things. Everybody says, kitchen remodel will do it. Well, it's something like this as well. Now, the other thing that we did last year, we got, now, every home since Hurricane Andrew in 1984, building code has changed in the state of Florida. Right?
Yes.
And I mean, they used to build, everything used to be just like up north, stick and, I call it stick.
Floating slab, stick and, stick and tin construction. Yeah.
Everything is concrete block since Hurricane Andrew. Okay. Right. And, your house is basically a fortress. And like I said, when we talked about the big thing is the water, the storm surge. Okay. Your house is a fortress. I mean, it's going to withstand Category 4 winds. Okay. It's going to be like a rock. Now, the other thing is, whenever you get a house, is they come with, we bought ours new, of course, and it came with hurricane shutters. Now, these are these corrugated metal shutters that you have to get put on. Now, putting them on is probably, one of the, I call it, it's very close to being on the way to Armageddon. Okay. They are just, they don't fit. They're horrible. You have to wear gloves, and even with gloves, you get cut. It's just so bad. Hey, Marcus.
Gentlemen, and I use that term loosely.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what we ended up doing was we got folding shutters for every window. And basically it's like an accordion. You shut it and you get a key and turn it, and that's it. And you're done. And the nice thing about that is, because what happens is a lot of companies say, like, lawn and garden places, the guys that cut grass and things like that, and handymen, they're the ones that are pegged to go ahead and put these shutters up. And they'll charge you outrageous sums, like $500 to put these things up. And especially for seniors around here, they don't have a choice. They gotta spend that money. Well, one of the things, and I think Marcus probably knows this from me telling him, was that, when you have this up, it's like you're in a submarine. Okay.
Yes.
Because there's no light coming in. All right. It's just, it's pitch, especially if the power goes out, look out. All right. It's
exactly.
It's pretty bad. But what's nice about these, and especially the one at the back of the house where we have the back wall is a sliding glass door, okay? And we have one that does that, and it locks from both the inside and the outside. So in terms of egress, because that's a question I asked when we got these shutters. So in terms of egress, what you do is you can just unlock it from the inside, open it up, and you're out the house.
Back up.
You don't have to worry about it, which is nice.
Well, that brings up a good point, Bill. You know, you luckily you have a generator, but those without, and you know, some people take to using plywood to storm-proof their windows during a storm, right? But you know what? One of the big killers is during a storm or the aftermath of a storm is fire. Okay, because people without power, okay, they turn around and burn candles. And then they don't use safe practices when they burn candles. Candles are freaking dangerous. You know, you got to keep them away from combustibles. But the other thing also is knowing how to shut the gas off behind your stove.
Yeah.
Or if you have a gas main in the house, knowing where it is, trying to figure out where it is during a disaster situation. Yeah, it's not going to work. You need to know ahead of time and be prepared because, look, if you have pilots or anything like that, you know, especially with some of the older houses, and you lose those pilots, you still got gas coming out because some of the safeties are not there like they are today in modern appliances. And most modern appliances today are using electronic ignition, right? But you should know where to turn off your gas and where to turn off your water.
Exactly.
Those are two essential things to know, whether you're a homeowner or you're renting a home. Okay. If you're in a multiple dwelling, just make sure your superintendent or your building manager knows where those things are because it's critical during a disaster situation.
Those are some great points, Tom. Thank you for bringing them up. One of the things that I found, and this was a very interesting article, and I wanted to share it. You know, we've been so much talking about the potential drone ban and all the stuff going on with that. And our good friend Original Dobo has a wonderful discourse out on X, so you're very welcome to read that. I'm not gonna belabor that point. But one of the articles that I saw was this just absolutely positively surprised the daylights out of me. U.S. proposes ban on Chinese vehicle software and hardware. I saw this, and it just kind of threw me for a loop here. All right. Now, what they're talking about is, you know, they're talking about it turning on automatically and recording where you're at with infrastructure and other things. And they're talking about this ban. I did read this article. It is a rather lengthy one. And I did post it out on Village Drone Reviewers, so you're welcome to read it. Now, it's saying, I think from what I read, 2027, it starts to go in effect beginning with the model year 2027 cars, and hardware prohibitions will take effect for model year 2030 cars or on January 1st, 2029 for units without a model year, according to the White House. Okay. This was such a strange, this is a real twist. They are really, I mean, you know, I was a little shocked when I saw this, to be honest with you guys, because I thought, you know, they're really kind of running and gunning for us, for the drone enthusiasts and users and everything. And then this article comes popping up here, and it just kind of blew me away. I mean, I was not expecting to see this.
Yeah, well, that's you know, we thought we're the only ones on the chopping block, right, Bill?
Yeah.
And we're not. We're not. I would challenge anybody in the chat right now and those on the panel to go through your home and see if you can find 10 items in your home that are made in the United States. And I'm not talking about food products. Okay. So, you know, we made a conscious decision to globalize decades ago. Now, remember, during the world wars, especially World War II, if we did not have the manufacturing capability, where would we be today? Right? So, you know, we got so complacent here in the United States because as consumers, what do we moan and groan about the most? High prices. So when you bring this manufacturing back onshore, it's going to cost us. And what we need to do is ensure that we have critical component manufacturing available in the U.S. Because if we do get in the straits with, our biggest trading partner, we are going to have a real problem. Now, a friend of mine I bought a Toyota Tacoma during the midst of COVID. He bought a Ford Raptor. My truck came complete. His truck had to go back a dozen times for missing components. That's after he bought the vehicle and took delivery. It had to go back for components because of supply chain issues. Okay? And that's what we're going to face here in this country if we don't get our act together. Now, I'm not into xenophobia. I'm into make sure you got your ducks in a row, okay? Make sure we have the expertise in this country to maintain that, because that's the other thing we don't do. We don't invest in education. We don't invest in STEM in this country. And at some point in time, I just say about the drone industry, with the amount of verticals in the drone industry, are we going to have the expertise in this country, okay, to staff all of that? So that's something else we got to do in this country, is really gear up our STEM education in this country so that we have the resources in the future.
Hey guys, how about that new Air 3S?
I was waiting for that. Why don't you show us the one that DJI sent you to review?
They won't even let me buy a Neo, So yeah.
You and me both. And I was standing next to their worldwide marketing director, okay, shooting the crap, and I'm still waiting. Come on. I was promised that mine would be delivered on October 8th. Okay, hold your breath.
Well, I thought I'd like to share with you what just got sent to me from Cogito. Okay, they sent me a Spectre Air, and they said there's going to be major updates to the software, and they want me to go ahead and test it. And as soon as the weather clears up, we're going to do that. So I just got this. This was not purchased. This was sent to me from Cogito. And they finally got, and the thing that I'm very pleased with is they finally got their situation squared away on Amazon, because what had happened was, if you would order a battery for the Spectre Mini, you were getting a battery for the Spectre Air, and vice versa. If you were ordering one for the Air, you're getting one for the Mini. So, and I think they had their ISBN numbers mixed up on Amazon.
Crossed. Yeah.
Hey, Bill. So, with all due respect to Spectre, they're no doubt they're a for-profit company trying to make a living. I'm just thinking, what is their expectation as a consumer? DJI, those drones are still available from DJI. Why would I choose Spectre over the known quantity of DJI? I just am, and the point that I'm trying to make is, I just think they have a tough road to hoe.
I don't doubt that for a second, Marcus. I do not doubt that for a second. And they've really they've gotten, I mean, they started out, I'll use the word okay, but it's been a rough road the past 3 or 4 months with them, because it was delay after delay before the accessories came out. And then once they came out, they had this big snafu on Amazon, mixing things up. And then, finally, they're back. They're kind of getting back on track, and they're back on track now with a software update that I'm supposedly
good here. Bill, can you address Mad Props Media has got a good question about geofencing?
Yeah, they that's the big part of the software update for both the Spectre Mini and the Spectre Air is no geofencing. Okay, they've taken it out, which is probably, and thank you for bringing that up, Marcus. That's a great point, and that's a great selling point. So
that's a selling point in my mind.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's something they should hawk. But to be honest with you, so let me ask you a question, Bill. What's the price point on that drone?
On the Air?
On that
$1,000 with one battery. Okay.
I kind of feel the same way Marcus does. Is why Why am I going to spend that kind of money when I can pick up today? I can pick up a DJI Air with probably superior specifications and know when I touch those controls to put it up in the air, it's going to perform.
Well,
so
service after the sale is where I'm going too, as much as anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, this one,
DJI had a long way to go themselves when they first, I mean, back in the old days, but now that they have some stellar customer service. You can get, if you don't mind putting a hold on a credit card, you can actually get a replacement drone shipped to you before you ever send back your broken drone to them. Yeah. So, and I mean, I went after smashing in Nevada, I had a replacement drone back in my hands and up in the air 30 hours later. So, that's something that I've become used to as a consumer now.
Well, one of the things with this is now that price, when I say for $1,000, that comes with the DJI RC2 controller with the screen. Okay. Not like the RC2, just where you have to use the phone. And that's the price point. It's about $200 of a price difference between that and pure DJI. So if you were to try to apples to apples, it does cost a little less. But I think one of the things that I've always had a concern about, and they've tried to alleviate it with me, with their communication. They only have 2 email addresses. There's no phone number to contact them. And they did tell me, if anybody should have any issues, to email, and I have their email to sales@cogitotech.com.
Right.
Is the email address. And I told them, I said, I have a lot of followers, and that's one of the big concerns that they have is service after the sale. Okay. That while the pricing is good, while the product is good, they want to make sure that after the sale, they're going to be taken care of if they spend this kind of money. So, and they said, absolutely, we will. And they did tell me that all their service is in the United States and that they will have a quick turnaround within 48 to 72 hours is what they told me. So, I mean, and I do have a group out on Facebook, and a lot of people have posted questions and had some good Q&A, and I forwarded it on to them. And I think they kind of look at me as a go-between kind of a thing. And I told them, I said, look, I really appreciate your working with me and everything. I said, but one of the things I think you guys have to do a whole lot better is your communication, because it will take 2 or 3 days sometimes to get responses back from them. And I told them, I said, I have people out there that want to buy your products, but yet, they don't have this confidence that you're going to be able to get back to them when I don't have that confidence. So, that's something that I think they need to work on as well. With DJI, all you got to do is either get out on X or Twitter and get into a chat. Boom, they will jump on it right away, or get into a chat online. Boom, they're on it right away.
Bill, even on Facebook, if you highlight DJI in any type of conversation, I've found that they jump on in the comments immediately, and then next thing you know, you're getting tapped on a DM. Now, sitting next to me is a Bamboo X1 Carbon. Okay, I looked at getting into 3D printing after they, of course, consumerized it, because I've gotten lazy in my old age and don't like tinkering as much. So, and of course, the people that came up with the Bamboo came from the DJI world, except the mistake they made was my second printer I got was the Carbon X1, the X1 Carbon. The one I got shipped was DOA, dead on arrival. The only way to get in touch with them was via email. And you have a 14-day return window. Do you know they got back to me 17 days later? Okay. So now, I followed up, and I had plenty of evidence that I reached out to them. And I went to a local reseller, and I said to them, can you help me with this? And he goes, no, actually, we can only service the ones we sell. So I had the means. I went ahead and bought one from them. And then when Bamboo finally got in touch with me, at least they honored the return period. I was happy about that. But then, of course, when I'm going up online and going into the chats, everybody was complaining about the same thing. So Marcus, you're right on the money there. Post-sale support today is critical. It's a piece of that pie, and if it doesn't come along with it, okay, it's not something I'm going to consider today. I want a couple of different means of reaching out to you, and email's not going to cut it today.
Absolutely. Well, got some good news here. A lot of people, and this is a question a lot of people asked about the Avata 2 when it first came out. Can you buy it standalone? And now the answer is yes. Okay, $489. I mean, this is fantastic because a lot of guys,
great price.
Controllers, they're all set up. All they really needed was to get the drone itself. Well, now it's available. I think this is just some fantastic news here. I am just elated now that they've done that. And I don't know. Yeah. I haven't seen what supply and demand, what the supply is like out there. I haven't physically gone out to check that, but that they're putting this out there must mean that they have them available and that they're shipping. I think it's fantastic.
Yep, I agree.
And there's the differences right here. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to talk about tonight, a couple of things before we get to okay. All right. Okay. All right. The Osmo Action 5. And we all know our good friend, Mr. Ron Brandt, has one. All right. And, one of the things that I'm going to go through this article first from Drone DJ. And these are 7 features that make it special. Okay. Groundbreaking 13.5 stop dynamic range, 4-hour battery life for extended shoots, built-in subject tracking and centering, best-in-class underwater performance, enhanced low-light performance, dual OLED touchscreens with high brightness, and seamless connectivity and editing with DJI Mimo. Okay, one of the things, a couple things that I did read a lot about is this underwater performance. I mean, you don't need to do anything to it, and it's ready to go underwater.
It recognizes it. Yeah. Well, what is it? 20 meters without a case and 60 width, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And this 4-hour battery life too. And I can tell you, when I went out to Hamvention up in Ohio, that was the number one thing I used. I used my Action 4, and it was over 2.5, 3 hours. I was still going. I mean, I still had I still had juice in that battery. So, but a 4-hour battery life in this, I think, is absolutely fantastic. Now,
well, didn't Ken Dono say it? He thinks it's a hero killer because that battery. Not only that, he said it didn't heat up the same way, a Hero 13 heats up.
Well, that's a great point, Tom, because Drone DJ, what they did was they did a comparison between the Action 5 Pro versus the GoPro Hero 13, looking at image quality, user experience, reliability, ecosystem and compatibility. And you can take a look right here. And across the board, basically both Action 5 Pro and GoPro Hero 13 are top-tier action cameras, but the former might be a better choice for those looking for better low-light performance, battery life, and versatility in extreme conditions. Action 5 Pro's integration with DJI's drone and microphone systems adds further value for those already interested in DJI's ecosystem. Nonetheless, Hero 13's black strong stabilization features and familiar interface will continue to appeal to longtime GoPro fans. So, I mean, and one of the things that I want to say is, and Ron and I had a little bit of a chat online, and one of the things he said, he cautioned me. He said, like if you have an Action 4, like in my instance here, you're not going to notice it's not going to be a quantum leap in terms of what you're going to pick up going to an Action 5 Pro from this. All right. Because number one, I'm not going to go diving with the camera. Okay. I may take it up to the pool. I may go underwater with it. All right. May have it underwater, but that's going to be the extent of it. It's not going to be like I'm going to go off a reef or something and go, and be.
It's a smaller segment of the population that's going to leverage that. Yes.
Yeah. Battery life is one of the biggest features of the whole thing.
Biggest.
Secondly, a lot of people have been asking for low light performance in action cameras, and this is the first one to really deliver. Third, I think that this is probably the first DJI Action camera. The 4 was pretty good, but I think this one puts it on, better video quality than the GoPro Hero 13. No matter what you said about GoPro, they had all their problems in the past, but their video quality was unparalleled. It was always just a little bit better.
Yeah.
But this one, I think, finally surpasses them.
On par, if not surpasses it. Yes, I agree with the color.
But
I agree.
And now here's the downside for us as consumers. We need a healthy GoPro. We complain about only having one company to buy drones from. You got to have healthy competitors in the action camera.
Exactly.
And GoPro has got some problems. They just went through a big layoff. Their stock is in the tank. You're not seeing a lot of innovation, so I worry about their situation. Yeah. But hopefully they'll.
That's a good point, Marcus.
That's a great point. Yeah,
having that competition. Okay, there's the old saying, "Iron sharpens iron," and it really does.
Yeah, I mean, it does.
It really makes them, each one of them, better. And and DJI's, you got to give DJI a lot of credit because they came into this. I don't want to use the word cold, but out of the blue, they come up with an action camera to rival GoPro. And look how far they've come in just a few short years.
Well, that's why I think it was a strategic mistake on GoPro's part, not continue in the drone world.
Right. Because they got such a bad taste in their mouth. Okay. And I got to be honest with you. I spoke with somebody at the Commercial UAV Expo, an engineer with DJI. They want the competition. Like you said, Bill. Okay. Iron sharpens iron. They said, because look, the only people I'll tell you this, Marcus, and this is why I believe them. The only people they compete with right now is their own marketing people.
Well,
okay? Yeah. They would like, because look, innovation, okay, depends. There's always a spark, right? And like you said, if GoPro would have held fast during after the initial release of the Karma and realized the mistakes they made with that product and invested in the development to bring a better product to market, we wouldn't necessarily be looking at this situation today that we have.
100%.
One player.
But DJI, and I love my DJI products, so don't take this wrong. But trust me, they're in it to win it. And
oh, absolutely.
The other competitors like Autel and so forth from China, hey, DJI dominates the suppliers. And there's those certain kind of chips and sensors and so forth. DJI plays games with those suppliers to keep them out of the hands of their competitors. That's business. I'm not blaming them. That's business.
And intellectual property. Absolutely. Right. But, look at a company. So now we have a problem with one of the companies being under the watchful eye of Congress is Anzu, right? Who they're saying is playing dirty because it's really just the DJI drone. If we have that ban come into play and we got a 5-year period to rid our world of DJI drones, if it was such a security issue, why a phase-in? That's one point. But DJI is not stupid. License their technology, okay, and continue profiting off of those licenses. And they want to be competitive, but would they lose some market share with competition? Absolutely. Would the market be larger? Absolutely. Are they really losing anything then?
Yeah.
At that point. Okay.
That's
that's the way I feel about it. And Marcus, I'm a freaking DJI fanboy. I'll wear that label. Put that sign around me right here, buddy. I'll wear that label.
Listen, you guys see all this junk behind me here. And so, I mean, I fly all this stuff. And there's nothing that comes to DJI. There just isn't. And, people can say whatever they want. I like flying these little FEMI drones and so forth. They're fun, but they just start in the same ballpark as DJI.
Exactly.
No, and tell me that Neo isn't going to kill part of that market.
I was just saying the same thing. The DJI keeps getting that price point lower and lower and lower to where, hey, there's no, I mean, and that little Neo, from everything that I've seen, man, anyway, I don't know why
and through firmware, that Neo is only going to get better. And one good thing about DJI, unlike Tesla, we don't pay for firmware releases. Okay.
Right.
That's the big difference. My neighbor up the corner, I said, so you have the autonomous driving? Oh, no, I won't pay for it. And I was like, what do you mean you won't pay? Oh, I didn't realize that. And then I heard Billy, remember Bill, I think it was Eddie was telling me Billy's, Tesla got totaled. Somebody smashed into him from behind, and Billy had paid for the lifetime on the autonomous driving. It only applies to that vehicle. So when Billy bought a replacement vehicle, it didn't come with it. And guess what? The insurance didn't cover it either.
Yeah. So you had to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. So as long as I don't have to pay for firmware upgrades, I love DJI.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. One of the things I want to spend some time and talking about is purportedly what we see some images of the Mavic 4. And I want to spend a few minutes looking at the image itself because it can be, it's a little tricky. Okay. It's a little tricky. So you have to look at some things here. Now you have to realize right here, you can see my cursor. That's a Mavic 3 right down there. And then there's a couple of Sonys on either side of it. And this is supposedly, purportedly the Mavic 4. Now it's upside down. That's one thing. All right. And hey, Kestelou does a great article and he explains that really well. And, until you really take a good close look at it, you're really confused by what all this is. Okay. Now, one of the things that's been noted right here up front is, whereas, you see right here on the Mavic 3, of course, the front sensors, even though this is upside down, you can't really see because, the lens may be covering it, but you're not seeing like a front obstacle avoidance like you see on the Mavic 3 right here, for one thing. Okay. And then this gimbal is very different from any other DJI gimbal I think I've ever seen. It's circular, it's round, and there's just a whole host of speculation that can go on about this, from, is this going to come out in 2024 to what kind of a price it's going to be, to what kind of a camera it's going to be. But one of the things I can tell you is this, okay? Number one, this camera is going to eclipse anything that DJI has done consumer-wise up until this point, okay? It's going to be the Mac Daddy for consumer drones as far as the camera is concerned. Of that, I have absolutely no doubt. 2024, it may be possible, okay? There's some rumblings that they've taken this out of the NDA bill. I've heard some things about that, but who knows? But be that as it may,
51 drones reported that today.
Yeah, it was taken. As far as I know, it was taken out.
It was taken out. So I mean, cautiously optimistic about that.
But Bill, before we move past that, because this is important.
Sure.
The standalone bill did pass the House. So just
right.
Right. It has to get through the Congress, and in all likelihood, there's going to be a reconciliation. So I'm holding out hope this is not going to take place for the 2025, because really what it comes down to is giving the FCC authority, to ban it, to put it on that restricted list. And if it doesn't come out before the end of the year and it comes out early next year, it really doesn't take effect right away. So hopefully we get this drone.
Yeah, once it's printed in the Federal Registers when it takes effect.
Yeah.
However, just because Bill, I'm probably going down a rabbit hole. You probably don't want me to go.
Go ahead. No, that's fine.
But who knows the final analysis of the bill? What it could be? Is it something that would be just moved in a little bit at a time so that you don't we don't lose everything instantly? Certain products or certain things. The other thing that could happen, like they talked about with TikTok, is they said, hey, TikTok, if you sell out to an American entity or whatever, with this, what if they come up with some kind of a solution that says, hey, we're 100% taking control of all that data from your drone. Now, we could argue that we have that already. However, Congress would need some kind of guarantees. So that kind of thing is still possible too. So
right. There's some compromises that could happen with it.
Could happen.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
One of the things that I've heard and I've seen in some other drone articles is that some of the ownership be invested in the United States. Okay. That Congress may look favorably upon that, and or pushing them to go ahead and finally build a plant over here or build plants over here and employ United States people to employees. So I mean, there's all kind of possibilities here.
Well, Bill, what I want to see come out of it is something very simple. I think in an approach is a security standard applicable to everyone.
Yes,
that's it right there. Boom.
That's excellent.
Okay, because I don't care who's got my data; it's at risk. Look, my pharmaceutical company breached my data, and they're solely in the U.S. So give me a goddamn break and protect me from all of them. Okay, whether it's foreign or domestic enemies, protect me from all of them.
Okay, so now I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit too. So I totally agree with what you said. What bothers me about situations like you're talking about, we just had that big security breach, the data broker that they hacked into, and trust me, they've got all of our social security numbers, all that. There's never any consequence for those companies. All they do is they come back and say, oh, okay, here's 2 years of free credit monitoring or whatever.
Hey, what are they paying for that? Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, that's right. When one of those companies gets broken into and they haven't protected our data, they need to be fined up the wazoo and they need to pay up.
Yeah. Yes. I agree. I agree because there's no incentive really for them to protect us.
They don't care. Yeah, they don't care.
Bill, when I was working, okay, I had an entire cybersecurity team in my bureau because we were Bureau of Technology Development and Systems for the agency. And there were no less than, on average, 1,200 attempts to hack us on a daily basis. I'm not making that shit up. That's real data, okay? And, if you don't have your ducks in a row, like, well, God forbid they were able to take down the dispatch system in New York City, the 911 system. Yeah. Okay, that's fielding over 1.5 million EMS calls a day, close to 3 million police calls, and another million fire and non-fire emergencies. Just imagine the devastation there. If you don't have your ducks in a row, you're subjecting us to a disaster. And that's what all U.S. companies are doing today. Like you said, they're not. What's the financial incentive for them to staff their shops the way they should and protect that data downstream? Protect it downstream.
Yeah, they don't care. Yeah.
No.
Hey, we went down a big rabbit hole, Bill. We're going to hand the show back to you.
Thank you.
Where's my Mavic?
You guys brought up some good points and had some great chat here as well too. Now, Multi-Rotors here said maybe the obstacle avoidance is built into the camera itself, which is why you don't.
Much like the Neo.
Yeah.
Okay. Just like, because that's something that we do get from DJI. Whatever came before is enhanced and brought forward. Okay. And we complain about half of it, but look at how the Neo is able to operate in a follow, okay? And you zigzag this way, it zigzags along that same path. So I think there will be obstacle avoidance in there. And look, I believe it'll be much more enhanced, and I still believe there's going to be a slew of sensors external to that solution.
I agree, Tom. I agree 100%. And one of the other things is, because people are looking at it upside down. You don't really, I mean, you look at a drone upside down, I mean, it's like looking at a dog upside down. Okay. They don't look very, very doggish until they're up on their paws. Okay. And it's the same thing here, looking at this upside down. So I want to kind of caution people on that. But one of the other things is, okay, there's a reason that they made this gimbal round, okay, in the camera area round. The possibility exists, like this may be, you may be getting, more than you might get a 360 view from something like this. You don't know, or a 180 type of view. I mean, that I'm just throwing that out there. But one of the things I think you can count on is this is going to be more expensive than the Mavic 3 Pro or the Mavic 3. Okay, that's
possibly. But now I'm going to say that shape is going to make this drone more aerodynamic.
That's a good point.
That's something we don't think about. Okay, I think you're going to find a drone. I'm guessing here, but I think one of the enhanced features, besides a huge dynamic range, which means better low light, I think you're going to have more seamless zoom across the range, because that's something we're all looking for, right? I hate having to switch from one to the other, especially when you're filming. You want to just be able to slide through that range of zoom, almost like a super zoom, right? On a digital camera. But I think what we might also get from this is increased speed. Okay,
right, Tom.
I want a drone that I can fly. I'm sorry, I want a drone I can fly at 80 miles an hour. I'm still under the FAA 99, mile an hour, but I want to be able to chase a car. Okay, across the desert floor. I want to be able to do those things, and I think at the prosumer, and we're really talking about really at a more of a pro level, that's something you really need today.
I agree. And, one of the things that I want to say as far as the performance of this drone is concerned, okay, Tom brings up a good point here, is I think you're going to see something that will kind of bridge the gap here between, the Mavic line and the Inspire line, okay, where, the Inspire is really, very professional, and the Mavic is consumer. I think you can probably safely use the label prosumer on this. And I think the other things is, I think, and this is just a gut, and this is just based. See, there's no rhyme or reason with DJI, because I did a study several years ago on release dates and cycles and everything with all their drones, and there's no rhyme or reason. I did a nice big spreadsheet, and there was no rhyme or reason. Dates, times, everything. Okay, nothing had any rhyme or reason. But one of the things I think because of everything all told with legislation and everything, I do think they'll try to squeeze that in this calendar year in 2024. Okay. It may be around Christmas time or so, but I kind of think, now that we've gotten our first verified look at this, I think we'll see that too. And one of the things, I think we'll see a better battery performance out of something like this. I can just about guarantee you that. Whether they're going to go to a new type of, OcuSync system with this, that kind of remains to be seen. But I would also guess that they're going to have another RC Pro 2, RC Pro 3 type of setup with this, because that proved to be, the original proved to be very popular. The replacement approved, is very popular. I think they may be upping the ante with something like this. And they may, who knows, they may even go along the lines of that wonderful controller that the Inspire has, that they're coming out with an upgrade to
a more feature-rich controller.
Exactly.
Yeah. But you know what? You said something earlier. You think it's going to be more expensive, and I'm gonna say at this point, I think maybe not, because first off, how do you get a Mavic 3 buyer to reach in their pocket for a Mavic 4 if it's much more expensive? But if it's feature rich and really from a spec point outdoes what you currently have at the same price, you're more likely to pull the trigger. And I agree with you. I think it's going to be shoehorned in before the end of the year, because why risk waiting too long to get this out and have something like that House bill pass in the Congress, in the Senate, and then not being able to release this to their largest market in the world, the United States. So that's why I think this will be shoehorned in before the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%. And I also think too, when you start to see things like this, we're not far behind, as we discussed last week, with the Air 3S and seeing it out on the FCC database and looking at the label. Okay. And I'm going to say that release is imminent. You're probably going to see that first plus week of October, some kind of, go ahead, Marcus.
When will we see the release of that new Neo drone, Bill?
That's a good.
And we're all through part 107. Make sure you buy your module because you need to put a remote ID module on it.
There you go.
That's if I plan on using it commercially, Marcus. Okay. If you don't look, and who says I'll use it commercially outdoors?
Right. Yeah.
I can still use it commercially indoors without RID.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah. So
just give me a firmware update on that damn camera so I can use it indoors with some reliability, with some decent imagery.
I keep looking at all the review videos, and they're hiding those remote ID modules very, very well in their review videos.
They must be. Yes,
they're
well, they all have waivers. You don't know. They could all have waivers in place, Marcus.
I'm hoping, a couple of things here as we approach the end of the year. The launch for the Action 5 Pro went well. All right. The Neo, I'm going to say not so much. All right. For us here in North America, the Air 3S, I think they're going to have it in stock. And I think, I'm just pure speculation on my part here is I think they'll be ready. I think they'll be ready to go. I don't think you'll have a 3-week, 4-week gap, crossing exactly, Tom, crossing fingers here, hoping that will happen. And I think the same thing for the Mavic 4 Pro. I think you'll probably see something, mid-November-ish as far as like an FCC release is concerned. And that may come out like first week or so of December, just in time for Christmas. So if you have piggy banks, you better be stuffing them full of some cash because it's going to come fast and furious by the end of the year this year.
Hey, I got a question for Tom. Tom, I know you've been talking to DJI with regard to the meetup, the Las Vegas meetup, etc. And so this is just kind of out of the blue. Do we know what the delay is with the Neo? Why the rest of the world got it and we're not getting it in the U.S.? Has they given you any indication?
I complained actually because I knew I had an inside that I was not getting my Neo delivered a couple of days after I pulled the trigger, minutes after the release. And I complained, and I got that look from the marketing director that I understand, but there are certain constraints we had in the release. And I kept on asking, what does that mean? Why? Yeah. But one thing I will say is, how many damn Neos are going to be under that Christmas tree this year?
It's going to be about a gajillion of them. A lot of people have ordered from Amazon in the UK, and they're getting delivered to the US. I've seen some people posting.
I tried Canada. I couldn't get it delivered here. Okay. I went on the DJI site right away, and I went to DJI.ca. I tried there. It would not deliver here. I went up on Amazon site in the UK. They wouldn't deliver it here. I went to a UK reseller, and they also wouldn't deliver. So if somebody would have told me who they were getting it from, I probably would have already had it in my hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I got a question. Who here is going to pick up the 3S?
Oh, of course.
Immediately. Plus, I'm curious as to whether, because I lost my 3 up in the mountains in Kanab, Utah. Okay.
What?
So it happened. I had a bird strike up there, and I got too close to a predatory nest apparently, and I have the Latin long, but I looked at it. It's kind of a sheer escarpment off a ridge. So this guy doesn't. I don't pull a Billy Kyle and climb up the mountain face. Okay, I write that shit off. Now, of course, it's been you can't run that drone because I had DJI shut it off. It was my first drone that I ever purchased from DJI without care refresh.
Holy cow.
Oh,
Because I got it from Best Buy. I have the Total Tech membership, and I planned on it breaking right when the successor came out, because then I'd bring it into Best Buy and tell them it's broken, and they wind up giving you a gift card, okay, for the full amount. And then I was, of course, going to make the replacement purchase. But I'm wondering, are my batteries going to work? And so that's a question that's still up in the air. I know the newer batteries have a higher capacity, but what about the form factor? You know, we didn't go from an Air 3 to an Air 4. We went from an Air 3 to a 3S. So, you know, I'm wondering on that one.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see, won't we?
And I have the RC2, and and everything that goes with the damn Fly More. Plus, I'm one of those guys that has a minimum of 5 batteries per drone. Okay, I don't go out without less than 5 batteries per drone. So, yes, Eddie, I know. Guess who turned me on to Total Tech membership?
Eddie.
Eddie Nunez. Okay.
Eddie should be making commission off. I think that's why I have him in his back pocket. I really do.
Really
Eddie, we love you.
You really should. Yeah.
I want to thank you guys. Tom, thank you so much for popping on tonight. I really appreciate it, because Ron had another engagement tonight and wasn't available for us. So that was
thanks for having me.
You're always welcome here. Always. And of course,
and don't forget Vegas Drone Meetup.
Yes.
November 8th, 9th, and 10th. Listen, if you're in the local area, consider a staycation at the Green Valley Ranch Resort. Okay? If you're coming in, I got to tell you, the Strip is a goddamn disaster, because they're prepping again for Formula One that happens 2 weeks post our meetup. So, I understand some people have their comp points and all, stay on the Strip. Getting around is going to be a freaking nightmare on the Strip because of what's going on with that. No reason not to stay at the Green Valley Ranch Resort, a world-class accommodations and a world-class casino. We were just there the other day. Okay, hit for 924 on a progressive slot. Can't complain, because that's probably going to fund my 3S. Okay,
there you go.
Just saying.
There you go.
Okay, November 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Is Eddie going to stay with us at the Green Valley Ranch?
Eddie's just working out the last minute details on who's watching the kids.
Yeah.
Okay, and then he's bringing the wife in with him, and yeah, he's going to stay at Green Valley Ranch. And you know what? I only live a short distance away. The wife and I are going to stay there. Now, if anybody's interested in renting my RV or renting the house, the RV is going for $1,000 a night. Okay. And the house, I'm only charging $2,500 a night for the house. Okay. So if you're interested, just DM me. I'll let you know. Okay. I'm not currently on Verbo. Okay. But just reach out. Okay.
And Tom, you're not looking to purchase anything with the money you'd make from that, would you?
Absolutely not. Okay, not unless it's has a great dynamic range, and I'm allowed to fly it in the U.S. But other than that, no, absolutely,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, again, thank you so much for stopping by tonight. Really, really, genuinely appreciate that. Marcus, as always, it's a pleasure. Guys, great chat tonight. You guys really rocked the house with your chat. You've been doing it so well. Prayers to everybody in the path of Helene. Let's just hope, it doesn't have the impact that we think it's going to have. And as always, guys, remember, it's a great day to fly. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening.